Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Novel Reviews. This is episode number 59. Yeah, it's been a couple months since I put up a review, and there's kind of a good reason for that. I had nothing to review, so when it comes to novel reviews, but now I do. And what book do I have to review? I have the reviewer. The adaptation of the Star Wars The Last Jedi. Yeah, though this is the expanded edition. Simply because of the fact that, well, the writer himself decided to throw in stuff that were not in the film, but in my opinion are in fact canon. Like, for example, the first two chapters are never happen in the film. One thing that did not happen in the film that did happen in here is Han Solo's funeral. According to the director, Rian Johnson, he said that the funeral had no place in the movie. Which I think for a lot of people that really ticked a lot of people off when he said that. Yeah, Rian Johnson was very controversial, some of the stuff he said. They throw that in here, which is a really good scene. They throw in a scene where Luke actually detects somebody approaching the planet he's on via the Force, which is interesting though the fact that he can do that. There's nothing really wrong with it. The Force is very self-explanatory. Yeah, feeling it through the Force, that's perfectly fine. They even added a couple other things in here. One, you get a chance to see from Maz's perspective. You see a little bit. You can see a little bit here, a little bit of her bar, and she gets a little bit more screen time than she does in the film. In the film, you only see her via hologram projection. Here, you see her like fully fleshed out, and you see her basically her reaction when she gets called by Poe Dameron. Yep. Now, as far as I can tell, this is even in the film, this is by far the first time anybody can think of that Poe Dameron has ever met Maz Kanami. I know Finn has, to meet him in the last film. Rose, not surprised she didn't meet him with me here before because, oh yeah, there's one other thing about Rose in here. They even threw in a scene that never happened in the film. Her interacting with her own sister. Yep, something the film never had at all. Because the film began with a battle. Yeah, seriously, that's what the film began. But in the case of the plot points of the film, they get pretty much everything down. The writer, Jason Fry, gets everything done really well, but also expanding upon stuff basically that happened in the film. You get to hear the inner thoughts of a lot of the characters, which is nice. It's a novel. That's what novels do. You get to read the internal thoughts. Same thing in the comic book, they do that as well. In the movie, you don't hear that much unless they're a mind reader. Yeah. But this overall is really good. Now, even if you don't like the film, I know that a lot of people didn't like the film, and heck, I am in the opinion that the stupid petition launched last year to get the film removed from the Star Wars canon is by far one of the stupidest petitions I've ever heard. The other, of course, was the removing J.J. Abrams from the director's spot for Star Wars Episode 9. Because according to the people who launched the petition, they said that he never introduced anything new. And I'm thinking, yeah, he did. He introduced new characters, new ships, new locations, something that's never explored before. So, saying that he introduced something new, that's completely wrong. I'm sure that Lucas pretty much ignored that one. And they pretty much ignored the other one as well because after the petitions were launched, as far as I know, nothing came of them at all. Nope. But this is really good. The cover is basically the movie poster, which Drew Strauss, I think his name is. Yeah, I think it's the guy's name. Yeah, he's gonna be at Comic Con when I go there. And the way this picture is depicted, it's how should I put this? It's kind of like something of the 1980s style movie posters, which the artist is basically known for doing that, keeping the 80s style flavor that people do like when it comes to movie posters in the 1980s. And it does look like that. As what poster could remind me of, I don't know. But it does have the 80s style feel to it. Well, only of the original three films, I think at least the second and third of the original trilogy was released in the 1980s. Hmm. Yes, Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980, and Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. So there's that. What rating do I give this book? I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Uh, it's a I'm giving that a 9 out of 10. The only reason I don't give it like a normal 9.5 because it's a novel. I don't usually give anything higher than that, but it's good. But at least this one actually does kind of. And there was one thing in particular that I never hear much people talk about: the humor that this film had. The humor was really good. Even while reading this, basically, I was laughing. Yes. I mean, it wasn't necessarily jokes, but there was stuff in here that was just so hilarious I just had to laugh at it. Yeah. Now, also, like in the film, Kathy Phasma's appearance was very brief. I mean, my God, her appearance in here in this novel only takes up like one chapter. Yeah, in the film, she's only on screen for about 5 minutes. But at least Maz Kanata got a little more screen time, which is nice. Also, this is something a bit unusual for an adaptation novel. They threw in parts in here. They didn't do this for Force Awakens. They did it for this book for some reason. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh yeah, they also threw in the sort of semi-continuous endings that the film had, like the boys in stables and Canto and the planet where Canto Bright is, the desert thing, which not desert, the planet. That I don't think was in the film, but the other one, the last one they show in here, that was the ending of the film, which is kind of reminiscent of the ending of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, yes, I know for a fact The Force Awakens was accused of being a ripoff of New Hope, but at least Star Wars picked up a good film. This movie ripped off. I mean, it took elements and some ideas from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Also, the Death Star is referenced in here several times. Yeah, it is. And they also mentioned that the entire squadron, the Red Squadron, which Luke was part of that squadron when they attacked the Death Star. They say that all of them are dead. What of Wedge Antilles? Yeah, he was part of that group, and he is never mentioned here at all. That's kind of the bizarre. Also, the one thing I thought was really nice, though, if you read this book now, they don't mention this in the film. There is a reference to the film to the Greg Rucka miniseries Star Wars: Shattered Empire. Yeah, they throw a reference to that in here, which I was very surprised to see that from a Star Wars novel. This is like the second time I can think of where they threw a reference to a Star Wars miniseries. The last time I can think of this happened was in the Princess Leia junior novel. Yeah, that was the last time I could think of that did that. Yeah, in that particular miniseries, they introduced Poe Dameron's parents, and also that Luke gave her a tree, which uh, mostly the reference was made by Poe himself, because his parents were in the miniseries, and it was nice the fact that I think it's implied though that Leia was the reason why that she brought Poe in, not just because of his record, but because of his parents' old friends of his. Mm-hmm. And I love how those lines like, he's a chart maker, but I like him. And Leia's like, me too. Yeah, and no, Poe Dameron is not in love with Leia. He just has a lot of good respect for her. Yeah, and apparently he is allowed to call her by her first name. My personal theory is not because they worked together for a little while, but because she's an old family friend. That's the only reason I can think of why Poe is allowed to call her by her first name, while everyone else simply calls her General Organa. There is references to her being a princess. They throw that in there. They throw in her being a senator. That's on there as well. Mm-hmm. So good. I do recommend it to people who are Star Wars fans. Even if they didn't like the film, this book kind of fixes some small little problems that the film had, but it's still really enjoyable. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned whenever I get a chance to read my next book, which is going to be a Star Trek book. Excuse me. And it's going to be a book related to Star Trek Voyager. Yes. Excuse me. Star Trek Voyager. You'll find out which book that I'm going to review for that one in the next episode, which is my 60th episode of this series. Yeah, 60th episode. Now, even though, yes, this is the first video I've done for the series in 2 months, but yeah, like I said before, I had nothing to review. I had no new novels to review because it took a while for these novels to come in. Yeah. And also, am I planning on reviewing any more James Bond novels? Yes, I am. I do have some James Bond novels I physically own. I just need to reread them, and then I'll do my thoughts on the novels themselves and do some comparisons to the actual films themselves. Yeah, those will be saved for later episodes. But as for Doctor Who, which is something I have reviewed a few books of, the last Doctor Who book I read, it was very boring. It was about an alien virus killing people who were killing other people on the internet. I'm like, wow, such a boring plot that I basically passed on reviewing the Doctor Who novel. Normally I wouldn't pass on reviewing the Doctor Who novel, but that one, yeah, I did. I passed. Because the book itself was the most boringest Doctor Who book I have ever read. I mean, yes, a doctor riding a plane, that is not unusual because he did that also in the serial Time Flight. But the story itself was just so boring and lackluster. And it's by far the worst Doctor Who novel I've ever read. Yeah. So, that particular book, no plans of. Oh, yeah, and also, despite the fact starring my favorite doctors, the 10th Doctor, and of course starring Catherine Tate's Donna Noble, the book is boring. Yep. So, stay tuned for episode 60. That will probably be up probably by next week. That's how long it probably take me to get through the Star Trek Voyager novel. Okay? But until I see you all in my next episode, bye.